Ms. Gay?
Yes, on January 11th, 2019, to the Princeton Packet and the Times.
Would you all join me in the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call?
Jeevers?
Here?
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara?
Here.
Miller?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
All right, we are now up to public comment. Is there anyone signed up? Is there anyone who wants to be? No, didn't sign up. I didn't sign up. Well, come on up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. John Church, 11 Princeton Place. I don't know how many of the people who are watching TV were at Community Day on Saturday. It was a wonderful event. The weather cooperated perfectly. Look at it now, and now we're back to the same old rain. But it was a terrific event, wonderfully organized, big turnout. So many people came. The parking lots were jammed, and so again, wonderful. Let's do it again and again and again. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Gene O'Brien, 13 Green Drive, and Chairman of the Planning Board. As you know, last week on Monday and Tuesday, the Honorable Judge Mary Jacobson conducted a compliance hearing for West Windsor Township, which was the final step in our finalizing our Phase 3 requirement and being protected for the next 6 years. I attended both days, and I would like to make reference to a couple things in Jerry Muller's May 8th memo and supplement it with a few other notes that I had. As Mr. Muller wrote in his memo to council, the township was determined to deserve a judgment of compliance and repose as a result of the proceedings, which is the final bottom line good news. This also includes protection against builders' remedy lawsuits through the end of the third round, which is June 30th, 2025. Something that Jerry did not mention in his memo was the fact that although one of the interveners sought to be given priority as the next site to be used if any of the existing sites were to fall through, the judge specifically declined to do that and said there was no standby sites to be needed. Standby sites is my word. There is a special master that's involved, as I think you know, who provides guidance to the court, has expertise in planning and things of that nature. Michael Boland was the special master in our case, and he testified that the township approval of the housing element and fair share plan, of the 11 associated ordinances, and other documents, and the assembling of a great deal of documentation in a short period of time was a remarkable achievement. Judge Jacobson described Mr. Boland's testimony as a very ringing endorsement of the township's work. Mr. Boland also said that of all of the affordable housing agents in the state, Piazza Associates, who is our agent, is one of the two of the best. So I thought that was a fine compliment for the Affordable Housing Committee and the agent that they have selected. He was also very complimentary of past councils and the current council for having put in place the process whereby the affordable units for long-established sites could be renewed, which is what you've done a few weeks ago with Avalon Watch and Windsor Haven, as you recall. The judge also cited that it was a considerable concession for West Windsor to accept the 1,500 units and to roll up their sleeves and within the 4 months of required compliance to get all the work done and get it together. So I think you should give yourselves a round of applause for what has been completed here and satisfying the court. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we want to give ourselves a round of applause?
That was a lot of work, folks.
It certainly was.
Years.
And Many closed sessions. So,
What I forgot to mention was that the bulk of this work was done by our affordable housing attorney, Jerry Muller, by our planning consultants, Burgess Associates, and our own in-house land use manager, Sam Surtees. They deserve a lot of credit.
Yes, indeed.
yes, they do. Kudos to them. Does anyone else wish to make a public comment? Seeing none, administration comments.
I have several announcements this evening. Our DPW is collecting yard waste from Zone 2 this week. Beginning on May 20th, twice a week garbage collection begins. The trash hauler is following the summer schedule. And then on Saturday, May 18th, is the spring dumpster drop-off day, which will begin at 8 a.m., where residents can drop off items such as appliances, electronics, bicycles, furniture, and unwanted items for recycling and/or disposal. Gently used household items are also accepted for donation. 2 shredding trucks will arrive at 10 a.m. If you have personal documents that you want destroyed, and yard waste can be dropped off as well. The day ends at 2:00 p.m., and our Public Works facility is located at 70 Southfield Road. May is Older Americans Month, and the theme for this year is Connect, Create, and Contribute. Our Senior Center is having a number of events on Fridays. There will be dancers on May 17th at 1:30 p.m. And then on May 24th, there will be an opera, La Scala di Seta, at 1:00 p.m. The theme of Connect, Create, Contribute is meant to signify the connection with friends, family, and services that support participation. Create by engaging in activities that promote learning, health, and personal enrichment, and contribute time, talent, and life experience to benefit others. And then, this Sunday, rain or shine, there'll be a cultural kaleidoscope. It's a day of music, dance, and other performances from cultures around the world, and a community art project. This is sponsored by the West Windsor Arts Council in partnership with West Windsor Human Relations Council. It will be held at the Nassau Park Pavilion, 100 Nassau Park Boulevard in West Windsor. The event begins at 11 a.m. and ends at 5 p.m. There'll be dance, traditional music and martial arts performances, and there'll also be an art project. It's a community mural that will be made on-site and then moved and displayed at the West Windsor Arts Center. The afternoon headliner will be the West Philadelphia Orchestra. So it sounds like a lovely afternoon. I hope the weather holds up. That's all I have.
Mayor?
Thanks. Last weekend there were 2 events in West Windsor. I want to thank FOAS for holding their 2nd annual spring cleanup. And then we had the community day at Duck Pond Park, which was also a success. A lot of people told me that they had saw most people they have seen at Community Day. So that was made possible first by religious leaders of West Windsor who came up with the idea of holding the day. Ken Jacobs of REC, and then our DPW staff as usual did a fantastic job. And it's great to know that in spite of having multiple events, Plainsboro having Founders Day too, we had record number of people. Thank you everyone who helped, and thank you everyone who turned up. I missed both the events. I won't say unfortunately because I was attending graduation for one of my daughters. That's what you get for paying 8 college tuitions. So I was happy about that, done. So just want to thank everybody who made both the FOAS folks and the Community Day folks. And I just want to reiterate what Jean said, that it's really important that we got the compliance hearing from Judge Jacobson. That makes us immune to builder's remedy lawsuit through 2025. And 2 years ago when I ran for mayor, I had made a commitment that we can do that without putting any housing on Howard Hughes track. And that has been fulfilled, and a lot of people needs thanks for that. As Jean said, our attorney Jerry Muller, Sam Surtees worked very hard, Burgess Associate, and all the council members who cooperated. And that's why we were able to knock off one big site of 500 homes, and that's a huge achievement for West Windsor, in spite of having a number that's, in my opinion, still very high, 1,500. So again, thanks to everyone. And we still have the Howard Hughes lawsuit pending, but we are confident we will prevail in remaining 2 counts of that lawsuit as well.
Okay. Council members, Aisha,
Nothing from me, thank you.
Linda?
Yeah, I also just wanted to say thank you to the police, fire, EMS workers, DPW workers. They were, I guess, cleaning up the trash. They were out there on the roads directing traffic because people were parking out in the fields, and it's not easy. All these people coming and going, people walking, babies, baby carriages, young children. So they did a very good job, thanks to Ken Jacobs. I think our religious leaders in town also contributed to this event and the planning, and whatever other staff members, volunteers for Community Day. We appreciate the effort. It was perhaps one of the most gorgeous days in months, and of course we have all rain this week, but not Saturday. It was like rather cloudless and sunny, and a lot of families came out and had an awful lot of fun. So that was good to see. So thank you.
YZ?
Yeah, I also participated both the community event as well as the actually the cleanup event hosted by Friends of West Windsor Open Space. That event was attended by 11 volunteers. I actually have the names. Some of the names I have to try to pronounce it properly. Sapriya Bakshi and her daughter, Anushka Bakshi, and then Ripali Swan and her daughter, her son in this case, Ayush Swan, 11 years old. Yame Wang and his son, Forrest Lee, Laura Donnelly, Eilert Clement, Trish Mel, and Kristen Epstein, and myself. So it was a really wonderful event. I didn't have to go to the gym on Saturday morning instead, so a good exercise. But also one piece of good advice by Kristen is to wear white collar, brighter color shirt. The reason is, on the way back, the 2 fellow volunteers identified a bunch of ticks on the back of my clothes. If I were wearing a dark color, they were not able to see it clearly. So, very good advice there. So, just keep in mind, if you volunteer to clean the trash, we'll make sure to wear something like what our wonderful clerk is wearing. It's very easy to identify. And then also, the community event is a great success. I spent most of the time standing by the Democratic booths, and I also waved to my friends from the Republican booths. It's a wonderful thing for our people to participate at the grassroots level. Which party, doesn't matter too much. It's really the civic engagement and participation is what matters. So good to see both parties are active in the community in a positive way. So that's all I can share. Thank you.
Thank you. Virginia?
So I was not at the last council meeting as I was out of town on a college visit, but I did want to address a comment that was made during public comment and really some unfounded accusations that have been made repeatedly against West Windsor Gives Back, which last year raised funds for the police PBA and this year is raising funds for the fire department. So West Windsor Gives Back is not a nonprofit. It does not accept any donations. It does not have a bank account. It does not handle money. So for somebody to accuse the mayor or me of stealing from West Windsor Gives Back is not only ridiculous, it's impossible. There is no money to be stolen from West Windsor Gives Back. All the money that is raised for the nonprofit that we're, currently raising money for goes directly to that nonprofit. The checks are made out to that nonprofit. It's deposited directly into their bank account. We have nothing to do with it. Residents were told up front exactly what the police last year and the fire department this year, what they were going to do with the money that was raised. They were told up front, and it's residents' choice whether or not they want to donate to that. So for somebody to say that they determine that there are better choices for people to donate their money or, that they should have donated to something else, well, that's nobody's call but the person who's making the donation. And they can decide how they want to spend their money and whom they want to donate to. All of West Windsor Gives Back volunteers are residents who just want to do something nice for the community. They're not being paid. They work hard, and they give freely of their time and their talents, and they get nothing in return except for the satisfaction of doing something nice for their community and raising some money for a local nonprofit here in West Windsor. To attack West Windsor Gives Back is to attack those good people. And frankly, I hope that I don't have to say anything about this again. I think. Now this year, West Windsor Gives Back is raising funds for the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company. They are going to purchase emergency rescue equipment that will help stabilize vehicles when they are extricating victims from a crash. This will help protect the first responders, and it will increase the chances of survival for crash victims. And I hope you will all join me in supporting this great cause. Now, this past Saturday, as everybody has mentioned, Community Day, we had a booth with West Windsor Gives Back and the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company. We had a booth together, and it was a great success. We had, there were tons of people out at Community Day. It was a beautiful day, of course. But we had Sparky, the firefighting dog, was there getting his photo taken with the kids and some adults. The kids were able to use a real fire hose to put out a pretend fire. They could dress up in the firefighters' uniforms and get their pictures taken in front of a fire truck. And we had hats for purchase. And again, all that money goes directly to the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company. We had several people say that they wanted to sign up to be volunteers because, again, this is a completely volunteer organization. These are not township employees, so if your house is on fire or you otherwise need the fire department, these are volunteers who are coming to your house. So please support this group of individuals. I would hate to see what would happen if we didn't have them here helping us when we need them. I also want to add my thanks to everybody who made that event successful. It was really terrific. And just wanted to touch on a couple of events that are coming up. We have Bike Fest is on the 25th, I believe, Saturday the 25th. And we also have Dive Into Summer, which is West Windsor Gives Back, our next event. Dive Into Summer is sort of like a jump into the summer season, held at Waterworks Pool. It's going to be Wednesday, June 19th. That's the last week of school for the high school for the local school kids. It's June 19th from 5 to 8 p.m. In addition to pools and the water slide, we're going to have a DJ, games, food, a silent auction with some really awesome prizes. And it's really a great way to kick off the season. So there are pool memberships available, so come on out and check it out and see if you might want to join the pool this summer. And finally, if you're interested in going to the Mayor's Ball November 2nd, please put your name on the waiting list by emailing www.givesback@gmail.com, and you can find that information on the Township website as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Virginia, the event that West Windsor Gives Back is having at the pool,
Yes.
is that costing anything, or is that just for free because you're wonderful people?
So that is $5 for
$5.
adults, unless you have a pool membership, and then that $5 is waived, and kids are free.
Well, that's basically free.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. I just wanted that clarified, because
Thank
that's
you.
going to be a really fun event. It was held last year, and I know a lot of people had a lot of fun. I was also at the Community Day. It was just fantastic. So many people there, so many people getting up on the stage, singing, dancing. It was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for everybody just to get together as a community. And I kept thinking of previous community days when I would go and come back and get into the shower because of the mud, and there was no mud this year, so that was wonderful. So I really liked that, and I was not able to go to the FOOS cleanup, but I heard that they cleaned up from Meadow Road up to Howard Hughes on that side of Clarksville Road, and it's a way into West Windsor, and we just don't want it to be full of garbage. So I think that was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I know there'll be more. Gay, do you have anything to add?
No, ma'am.
Then we're up to the consent agenda.
We have bills and claims.
Does anybody want to pull anything from the bills and claims? If not, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Mazzara?
Yep.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. All right, we're now up to recommendations from administration.
2019 R-106, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a contract with Earl Asphalt Company for the reconstruction and resurfacing of portions of Deerfield Drive, Carnegie Center Drive, and Millbrook Drive for $328,413.13. 2019 R-107, authorizing the business administrator to execute an authorization letter to Crown Castle for site work trench on municipal property, Block 10, Lot 11, Police Facility Cell Tower, to allow 5G upgrades for Sprint. 2019 R-108, authorizing the chief financial officer to increase the contract with Morton Salt for 2019 by $50,000 for a total not to exceed of $230,000. That covers 2018 and 2019 total expenditures. 2019 R-109, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with West Winds Homeowners Association for reimbursement of 2016 and 2017 snow removal costs. Snow Trust 2016 for $796.46, and for 2017, $1,058.80. 2019 R-110, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a memorandum of understanding to accept the donation of the following equipment: 1 DJI M210 drone and 4 DJI Mavic Enterprise drones from the West Windsor PBA 271. 2019 R-111, requesting the Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Transportation to grant a 6-month extension of time for award of the project known as Wallace Road Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project. 2019 R-112, supporting the New Jersey Department of Transportation's plan for the Alexander Road Bridge Replacement Project over the Delaware and Raritan Canal.
All right, I've had a request to pull for discussion R-110. I also have some amendments, so could we just have a resolution, if we can just do 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12, if we can have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yep.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Now, before we go on to discuss this, there have been some changes that were made to the resolution instead of saying that West Windsor PBA has 4 drones that it wishes to make available to West Windsor Township, it should be to donate to West Windsor Township. And instead of being accepted by the Township Council, it's being accepted by the mayor and Township Council. And we are noting that the memorandum of understanding is attached as Exhibit A. Also, in the memorandum of understanding, again, we will be talking about the drone that the PBA wishes to donate to the township, not merely make available. And there's a clause awarded on a first-come, first-served basis, which we have excised, removed, taken away. And so that is what we will be discussing. But Aisha has some other comments, please.
I did have just a couple of questions. So the last time we talked about this was probably, Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe during the budgeting process. And we had asked some questions of our police chief and our administration about sort of what are the procedures in place to support this drone plan, SOPs, program limitations, scope of usage, how we're going to store electronic data that's being recorded by the drones, stuff like that. So one of the concerns I had, and actually Allison, our council president, Linda Jeevers, had recommended that we have sort of a community information, I don't know what we call it, session. And so I was looking forward to that because I have to assume that the police department has this information, that there is a plan in place. I just know I haven't seen it. And I asked a couple of my council members, and none of us have really seen anything with any specifics. Then I was able to find some information, and this is a program, it's a memo actually prepared by the International Association of the Chiefs of Police. And it's called Recommended Guidelines for the Use of Unmanned Aircraft. And I think this is instructive. They start out with actually, the introduction is, and I'll email this around to everyone, we live in a culture that is extremely sensitive to the idea of preventing unnecessarily government intrusion into any facet of our lives. Personal rights are cherished and legally protected by the Constitution. Despite their proven effectiveness, concerns about privacy threaten and overshadow the benefits of this technology promises to bring to public safety. So I think there is definitely a benefit that comes with improved technology, with use, with essentially getting with the program, right? But I think we have to make sure that we have a clearly defined program in place. Interestingly, after the definitions section of this memo, the biggest section of the memo talks about community engagement. It talks about law enforcement agencies desiring to use UA should first determine how they will use this technology, including the costs and benefits to be gained. I haven't seen that that determination has been made. The agency should then engage their community early in the planning process, including their governing body. I know I haven't been involved in anything, and perhaps someone else has been. They should assure the community that it values protections provided to the citizens by the U.S. Constitution, and I have no question about that, because I am certain that any police department program that comes out of West Windsor is going to honor our Constitution, New Jersey and U.S., but we need to actually see what the program is. Some of the questions I had asked during the budgeting process were related to these drones have cameras on board. How is the information going to be stored? How is it going to be, is it subject to the Freedom of Information Act? What are the cameras, when are they recording? What are the actual drones going to be used for? I understand that the initial idea for the drone program came out of search and rescue for individuals, lost or intending to be lost or injured. I imagine there's some portion of animal rescue that we can use this for. We need to determine what the scope is. Are they going to be used in the execution of search warrants? Are they going to, I don't know, right? These are questions that I think we need to have addressed before we put these drones in the air. The other question I had was, I was provided with, and I appreciate this, the Municipal Excess Liability Joint Insurance Fund. It's a memo on unmanned aircraft systems. And it tells us that we have coverage, but it references at several places reviewing the plan. So has legal counsel reviewed the plan? I saw a memo where our police chief has reviewed this memo and feels comfortable that his plan complies with it. But I think legal should be reviewing the plan. Has someone spoken with our JIF risk manager to say, here's the plan, are we in compliance, or is the use of this drone program going to jeopardize coverage? Because there's a whole bunch about how we jeopardize coverage. I'm just a little bit concerned about why we don't have answers to this. Council has asked these answers before. We were supposed to have an information session, I haven't seen it.
Okay, let me try to answer some of your questions. I don't know which memo you are referring to, who wrote it, or...
Chief Garofalo wrote it. It was sent to us today.
The one without community input needed, this needed, that needed, whatever. I mean, you didn't share.
Yeah, no, I'll send it to you guys. It's from the Police Chiefs Association.
Yeah, but I mean, first time I heard about it. If you had emailed me, I'm sorry I missed it ahead of time. So that's a generic memo. That doesn't conform to our town. Again, I was told repeatedly last few years, and I don't like to do this, but my job as head director of safety is to run the police department.
Right.
It's not council's job to micromanage the police department. And the chief has repeatedly told you that, and this was the policy on school board too, any safety measures, we are not going to come to the council and discuss on TV, okay, for everybody to see. Chief has an open door policy. He has invited, some council members have taken the opportunity to go and meet him and discuss it. We are not going to discuss the safety policies and procedures that the police use on TV in public. That's the whole point of keeping the method secret. So methods of how they are going to use the drones, when they are going to use the drone. The school districts now doesn't even publish the diagrams online. We won't put a building diagram online. That's why when you discuss this building modification, you will not find a diagram as a part of our material we put online. Unfortunately, those are needed in today's day and age. So you're welcome to go and talk to the chief. He will give you all the information, all the questions that you have answered, but we are not going to discuss the operating procedures and how the drones will be used in public in front of TV for everybody to see. And we have talked to our insurance agents. We have got understanding that we are covered under JIF and whatever other insurance policies, and Marlena can confirm that because she talked about it. So that due diligence has been done to the best of my ability. But this is America. Anybody can sue anybody for any reason, right? I mean, it could be my stupidity, but I can still sue you saying you shouldn't let me be stupid. That's the nature of this country. I mean, I have always comment, but that's the truth. So I mean, I can never guarantee anybody that any document is lawsuit proof.
You're absolutely right. So I guess there's just a couple of follow-up questions I have. We'll ask Marlena first. So you have spoken with the risk manager at JIF yourself?
I have. I've only confirmed that there is this coverage afforded. This coverage has been afforded to all member municipalities of local JIFs for the basic level of coverage, which is the member entities received the first $5 million of coverage at the local level. In this instance, it's the Mid-Jersey JIF, of which the township has been a long-standing member. And then the excess of the $5 million is through the Municipal Excess Liability Fund.
Thank you. So did you actually present the JIF with a plan or a program or something that's been drafted by, not for public view, right? But the
I
JIF
did
should
not.
certainly, okay. Have you seen any such plan or program relating to the unmanned aircraft?
I have not. The
Okay.
chief tells me that was handled internally.
And when you say internally, what does that mean? Who
By
would have
his
seen it?
department, by whom, his designee.
All right, so he would have seen it. He might have prepared it.
He may have, he may have not. I don't know. I too am not privileged to public safety information. I don't think it's appropriate,
Okay.
considering I don't want to jeopardize their mission.
No, and that's fair. So I think it's more than a question for the mayor. And Mayor, you made a good point that you are, for lack of a better term, the boss of public safety, right? You're the boss of
Director.
them all. Okay, we'll call you the director of public
Safety
safety.
My head is on the line, you can say that.
Right, well, we don't need to go that far. But have you seen a plan, SOPs, regulations, anything that's been put in place regarding the UAS program?
No, I haven't read in detail the SOP plans, but I do know that they exist. I have talked to the chief about it. I know that not anybody can fly the drone. You need FAA certification, and our police department has received certification from FAA. Certain members of our
Right.
police departments have received certification to fly, operate these drones. They have received special certification to operate these drones over crowds, which is special.
Right.
They have received special certification to operate these drones at night, which is a separate category. So the training has been provided and you voted for it because it went through the regular budget. So everything that, from the sense of due diligence that we can do, has been done.
But you haven't personally read these SOPs?
No, I mean, I won't read all the SOPs. I mean, I'm not a police officer. So, I mean, if I give you long documents about my business, you can understand some of it, you won't understand
Right.
most of it.
Do you know if I would hope that these SOPs and this procedure and this plan, whatever comprises of this plan, will be provided to the risk manager at JIF to make sure that we're in compliance, or at least to legal counsel, so that somebody can ensure, other than just the police chief who drafted the plan, right? So sometimes when I draft a brief, I find it helpful to have somebody else read it, to sort of see, listen, did I miss something? Am I hitting all the highlights? What do we need? And this is not to cast aspersions on anybody's abilities, other than just to say, we are a system of checks and balances. I completely understand if you don't want counsel or Marlena to be that check and balance, but there needs to be some check and balance.
I mean, again, don't misunderstand me. I have not said I don't want you to know the plan, or no. I have offered you, and the chief has offered you on numerous occasions, you can go to his office, take a look at anything and everything you want. It's just that we are not willing to discuss it in public on TV.
No, that's, and I
So, I
totally
mean,
agree with you.
So your characterization that I don't want either Marlena and Marlena has that opportunity too. If she wants to go and meet with the chief and read the document, she is welcome to do that.
I
I've
don't
never told her don't go.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Right.
I'm simply suggesting that somebody who knows what the hell they're looking at should be going and looking at it, and perhaps it's our legal counsel, or perhaps it's the JIF risk manager.
See,
But
Marlena has...
we got an email from somebody at Mike's office saying, this has been handled completely properly by the chief. I mean, did you not get that email? They reviewed everything, and to me, that seemed to cover all the questions that you'd had. They listed them, I won't do it here, but...
Dan Davidale and I, at our office, reviewed all of these documents with the chief. We did not interact with the JIF or the MEL.
but we did interact with the chief and others involved, and we believed from our review of this, and we've handled similar contracts for other towns, that the town is well protected with regard to insurance.
I do want to point out, the bulletin from the Joint Insurance Fund is a rehashing of the FAA
Correct.
Rule Part 107. So basically, this bulletin is a regurgitation of federal law. And the concern that has been expressed about privacy is also an issue that is mentioned in this coverage bulletin as
Correct.
well, and is not taken lightly. So,
And these are all excellent questions to ask, but I believe that while we have not spoken directly to the MEL, and if there's a requirement for an SOP from the chief, I'm sure the MEL will be honest to make sure we supply it to him. But there's a satisfaction on our part that we believe that the township is covered.
Okay, as long as that is the public representation.
Yes.
I guess the one last question I had that I didn't hear someone answer, and maybe it's a question best for you, is what happens in the context of a Freedom of Information Act request for data recorded by the drone camera?
Well, it would most likely come as an Oprah, and we have our Oprah queen over here, who I work with very closely, and there have been some decisions by the courts, mostly from police cameras located in stationary objects, not so much from a drone, but I believe, and in speaking with my Oprah brethren, like George Morris in my office, who's probably the #1 guy in the state, it's his belief that the drone footage would be treated the same as a police camera, as to if it's just observing a general area, certain Oprah footage can be turned over, certain footage can be turned over, not Oprah footage, but footage would be turned over. But if there's a specific investigation going on using that footage, then that may not be turned over. But again, this is, I hate to put it this way, but it depends on the situation.
All right, so if I happen to be at a public park where the drones are flying overhead and I'm recorded, that can be turned over?
The decisions do take into account certain privacy issues with that, and there is software to kind of muddy out your face or identifying objects. So, again, it depends on the situation. I would think there that the court would be interested in some of your privacy concerns, but the court would also look at it in this way, in that if you did not have privacy expectations where you were, much like a parking lot sometimes, or
my backyard.
Your backyard, you would have privacy expectations, but a parking lot or a public park, the privacy expectations are at a lower level.
And do we have a mechanism in place, so if my backyard is implicated somehow, that the landowner is provided notice before for instance, when you issue a subpoena, you provide notice to your adversary, and they have a chance to make a motion to quash?
Sure. You would be provided notice under Oprah, but under Oprah, we would have the right as a town to review the footage prior to turning it over. And if there is footage of private property, it would be our job to go ahead and delete that part of the footage, as long as it complied with the case law that's on the books.
So now your firm has reviewed our township SOPs.
Yes.
Is there a provision in our township SOPs that provides for that mechanism?
That mechanism is covered not so much under standards of procedure, but under the Oprah laws as we enforce them.
It's a lot of leap of faith here, but okay.
The town is very sensitive to privacy issues, as all towns are, and that's why many towns have fought a lot of these Oprah lawsuits. The courts have laid out somewhat of a pretty strong line as to what is private, what is public, and from those decisions, we make our decisions. And as our Oprah queen over here can tell you, we take the job very seriously, and I think we do an excellent job in answering these Oprah requests.
So just because Gay, while you are timeless, I would recommend that the township develop a set of Oprah SOPs when it comes to UAV coverage, because while I absolutely trust Gay in her interpretation, I'm a little bit concerned about, I don't know who comes next.
And that is something that Gay and I and the chief and the mayor can all talk, and our administrator can all talk about looking into.
Thank you.
Just something. I mean, you and I look at same thing with different angles many times. You always, as a lawyer, you're a lawyer, you always look at what's the worst that can happen. I mean, what worst can happen is going to happen, no matter what I feel. I always look at it, what's the best out that can come out of it. And I agreed with the chief to support the drone program because a lot of good will come out of it. And I have told the council that it has been used a number of times already. One at the funeral, which was very good. Once used when somebody reported a person trying to jump off the bridge in Lawrenceville. Luckily, nobody was there. But just last Friday, just got a note from acting chief in Lawrenceville. On Friday, May 10, 2019, our agency responded to a call involving an armed, delusional, anti-government adult male. The subject refused to come out of his home to speak with police or the mobile crisis outreach team. The subject made statements of grave concern and said that he was not going to cooperate with police. Due to the geography of the subject's property, it created a very dangerous situation for officers to approach the residence. At our request, Windsor PD officer Carlos Abed responded to the scene and deployed a WWPD drone. Officer Adeb showed great professionalism and aptitude in his use of the drone. Through officers' assistance, our officers were able to get a full view of the building on the lot and develop a tactical operations plan. Ultimately, our officers approached the buildings on foot and forced entry into both structures. Unfortunately, the subject had fled from the house prior to officers making the approach. Numerous long arms, handguns, and other weapons were located in the residence. After further search and investigation, we were able to locate the male and take him into protective custody without incident. The male has been admitted for treatment. The information gathered from the drone deployment was instrumental in developing a safe tactical plan. The assistance from your agency was critical in carrying out our mission. We greatly appreciate the assistance from your agency. Thank you. On my behalf, please extend a personal thanks to officer for his assistance. So again, when I think back, sadly what happened in Princeton a few years ago at the Panera, if we had a drone, a lot easier, because it was one of our officers inside that Panera facing the suspect with a loaded gun.
Right.
I would rather send a drone, maybe I lose a $5,000 drone, than send a live officer in there.
I think you make a great point. And yes, as an attorney, I am absolutely trained to look at the worst-case scenario. We do that for a living.
I spend my whole life doing it, Mayor.
Right. But I like that you gave us that story, because it is a success story. And I find myself reiterating this to anybody who will listen. I am not anti-drone program. I am simply anti-cart before the horse. I think we need to make sure that we have a program in place before we start flying the drones. One of my concerns, and I appreciate all of the changes that Allison and Linda made to the resolution language, but the third whereas clause says the PBA wants to just make sure that they haven't inspected or certified the drones, right? So I'm just not sure what that means in the context of somebody took possession of these drones from the manufacturer, someone had to have certified and inspected them. I'm not sure who did that. Again, they're not big issues, but just because I ask questions about the program doesn't mean I am anti the program.
No, but see, PBA is not qualified to inspect the drones. The police officers the police officers who are certified by FAA are qualified to instruct and operate the drones. If I raise money for some charity about, let's say, buying a drilling equipment, right? I raise money for buying a drilling equipment and I give drilling equipment to that charity, I know nothing about the drilling equipment. I will say I bought fresh off the lot from the manufacturer,
Right.
gave it to you, it's your responsibility to make sure it works properly. That's all it does, right?
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
The other side of that is somebody had to have done it.
Yes, and we have done it. I mean, that's why, I mean,
So
We-
whose possession are these drones in right now? So we haven't taken ownership, but where are the drones?
it's with the West Windsor Police Department. It's various, there are certain people and that, first let me just clarify. You said we need to develop the procedure and the chief will tell you the discussion has been going on for 2-3 years. I mean, the council may have heard it for the first time, but after I got elected, first thing he talked to me about the drones, and he probably had discussion with Mayor Shea, I don't know about that, about the drones. So they have been developing the plan and thinking about the drones for quite some time. It's not that they got up and said, let's go buy the drones, right? And what was your other question? I lost my train of thought.
I lost it too.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So, okay, how the drone so the drones are, the ideal scenario is the drone will be with each police officer in his patrol car, those who are certified to operate the
Well,
drones,
yeah.
right? So, we are currently 2 short, so sometime along the way, 2 small one, not the mama one, the small one. So, the council may get a request for 2 small drones because we want each patrol officer who is certified to have a drone, have one immediately
So
available.
that's where they're currently being housed, is within the vehicle.
Within the vehicle.
And they have been since the acquisition.
I don't
Okay.
know, I cannot tell you every second, every minute it
No,
has
no,
been
no.
in the drone.
But
they have
basically,
been-
they're in the car.
They have been with the police department, safe and sound.
So even though we didn't own them yet, they were in use.
Say that again?
So we didn't own them yet, right? Until tonight, you don't own the drones.
No, tonight is just a paper keeping, this is just a formality. We owned it the minute the BBA gave us drone. I mean,
Okay.
again, see, over the last 3 years I've been on council, the township received several gifts over the 3 years.
Right, right.
Nothing appeared on the agenda. Are we going to claim that we don't own any of them? The scoreboard, this, that, so we owned it the minute we got the possession of the drone. This is just to certify, this is just for public record, and that's my style.
I like that.
Every gift we receive will be on the agenda, just like YZ will tell you, school board voted on every gift they
Right.
received on the agenda.
And I agree, I'm not disputing that you're doing that, which is a nice change,
Yeah.
honestly. So Mike, that leads me then to a question to you, is if we've had complete custody, control, and use of these drones, why do we have all this indemnification language in this, the
Well-
resolution and the MOU?
The drones have been under the possession of the PBA. As of tonight, if this is ratified and the mayor signs, the governing body will then
Well, he
sign
just
off
told
on-
us they've been in our custody and control.
They've been using them, but they will then come under our possession once they're approved tonight. But they're currently under the PBA possession. They're being used like, police would use any private item. But once the township takes control, we want to make sure the township is indemnified, and that's why we pushed all that language.
Well, it's indemnifying the PBA, though. It's not the township being indemnified.
No,
The township is indemnifying the PBA, but I take your point.
Right, no, right, but the township indemnifies the PBA, but we wanted to make sure that the township was also protected in all those negotiations.
So the last question then, just to make sure that we're covered from a liability perspective, is we're hearing about these several instances where the drones have been up in use. As of today, have we received any notice of any claims related to any usage of these 5 drones?
Not that I know of, but doesn't mean somebody doesn't get up 6 years from now and say.
No, just
You-
have you received notice? That's
No.
all. Marlena?
No,
Yeah, there's nothing been sent, actually.
no,
Right to the
that would be
FAA.
served
Yeah.
on the township, either to the township attorney and/or
Yeah, you would-
township clerk's
We
office.
would have a tort claims notice within
days.
60 days or something like that, so.
I would just like to ask, I see the police chief in the back, is there something that you would like to add to this conversation? I mean, I've seen you nod, I've seen you move. If you would like to add something, please do. If you feel that everybody has
Chief,
spoken
you have
to
3
you-
minutes. Otherwise, you can talk for 2 hours, I know that. I've talked to you about drones for... you
No,
can-
everything's been covered. I've met with council members, I've met with different members of the public, I've met with the mayor, I've met with business administrators. This plan's gone on for 3 years. I've provided documents, including documents to Councilwoman Hamilton. I've provided emails, all the requests for amounts, things, properties. We've done policies, have them in place. We have procedures. We have FAA guidelines. We have FAA's COAs, which are certificates of authorization. We've had training, additional training, night training. All this has gone into place for years. We've got our licenses in place. We had all our registrations in place, all our policies drawn from the International Association of Chiefs of Police, drawn from other organizations, all those places, so that we meet all these requirements. It's just not something that I make up on my own. We've done all these things, put them all in place, provided what we can. Just like any of our other policies, we don't provide them all to the public. We provide some, but not the ones that are operational, because then that gives away our operational plans and things for terrorists and others to get involved. So, it's all available to you guys whenever you want. Come look at it, take a look, go through it. Policies are there, everything's there.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no other comment,
I'll make a quick comment.
all right, you have a
Hopefully quick.
comment?
Yeah. So first of all, as a technologist, I'm for use of technology moving forward. And I had a conversation with the chief during the community day. I was impressed with the maneuver, the movement of the drone seemed to be pretty accurate, under well control by the police officers. And also I told him 2 years ago there was a Chinese American visiting grandma who went missing in Princeton. She went missing in the evening. We, the Chinese American community, organized ourselves to search this elderly lady. Unfortunately, we couldn't find her. The sniffing dog couldn't find her neither. Now, with the technology like this, potentially, right, you use infrared, it probably she could have been identified in the evening instead of next morning. We found one of our members found her on the roadside already, obviously passed away at the time. So I think as a technologist, and we all know we're moving forward with technology, including information technology and all that. At the same time, I can see where Councilman Aisha Hamilton is coming from, because it's a new technology, because we're in a pilot mode. So it is always good to be extra cautious about it. So I see her point, and I think I'm sure that the chief will be able to do more and more extra caution on top of extra caution. And there's never extra to me, because we don't know what's going to happen, because it's new, right? We don't know exactly, because it's a sort of not completely tested technology. It is in its developing stage, even as a drone industry on its own. So to that point, I think we should be extra cautious about it moving forward. But at the top level, I think this is a wonderful technology which can save lives and find the criminals and all that. So I personally, I would approve this, granted that we'll have a continued dialogue and communication. And I would love to learn more from the chief and the police as well. Thank you.
I know that my concern has been with not just the safety, but with people who want to make sure that they are not casually observed. It's a question of privacy, and I've had several conversations. And I think they're trying. I think they're trying to have a good balance between safety and privacy. And all we can do as elected officials is monitor it. And if we seem to think that there's something going over the line, we can express our feelings. But I do support going forward with this MOU and this acceptance of the drones by the township.
And I also spent hours reviewing the materials. I had some suggestions for revisions, which were accepted. Insurance was certainly a big question. There's not, when I read this, I wanted to make sure that, that we are covered for this. My preference, of course, is the ownership to be with the township, that we have full responsibility, even though we are allowing the drones being used, but we really should have ownership of that through a formal resolution. I've said in the past that this township should have a gift policy, and I applaud the mayor for bringing this forward, for us to vote on, because I think that is an important step with some of these gifts that are rather large and sometimes a little more complicated than just, say, a bench. Something like this should come before council, so I applaud you for that.
Virginia, you haven't said anything, or are you willing to just?
I would like to make a motion
Thank you.
to approve 2019-R110.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
It's a tough one, but I'm going to vote in favor of it because it seems like we're already using the drones as though we own them, so you might as well transfer title.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
All approved.
Okay, thank you. And it's now time for additional public comment. Anybody has, May.
Yan-Mei Wang, 41 Montgomery Street. I just want to add a few more facts and details about the activities, the past activity at the cleanup day event. So as a Friends of West Windsor Open Space member, I was there. We hit a few limits, so we totally collected 150 pounds of garbage. And we have probably the lowest age limit of participants. We have a boy of 7-year-old, and we have on average more than 5 ticks per person that was doing the cleanup. And so we brushed them off. And then I want to add a few more things about the activity that's coming up next Sunday. It's called Culture Kaleidoscope. That's organized by the Human Relations Council, of which I'm a member, and also the West Windsor Arts Center. We are going to have performances from dance performance from the Berwyn Art Center in Plainsboro, and erhu performance, which is a string instrument of 2 strings, only by the Huasha Plainsboro Chinese School. We're going to have dance from the Art Bridge Academy, and the most important thing is I think we have a wushu performance by a world champion of our own, who is a junior resident in West Windsor. He's only 15 years old. However, he has been an American champion for 10 years and world champion for the last 2 years. And he is going to perform the the gold medalist award at this activity. And after that, he's going to have a half-an-hour teaching session of some basic movements. We're also going to have Brazilian dance and African drum, and then Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra performances. And also this mural thing that we're going to draw together, the community project, is a Monet piece that we took the scene from our own West Windsor place. And then after the art project, it's a surprise, and we'll figure out where it is afterwards. So come to our event this Sunday, and so we'll see you there. And one last thing. A few months ago, we did have a pedestrian that he was running along Clarksville Road, and he got hit by a car. And he turned out to be my neighbor. And I ran into him, and I'm very happy to report that after 3 surgeries, he's well, and he's going to go back to running soon. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please.
Good evening. My name is Frank Lavadera from 4 Windward Drive in Princeton Junction. And I just came to see the agenda and listen to the proceedings. And as a citizen of West Windsor, I'm very pleased to hear that our law enforcement is using advanced technology in order to potentially save lives. But I'm also very pleased to hear that there has been a lot of consideration about the privacy issues, which are important to us as citizens. And I'm very pleased to see the proceedings and also to see that the drones were approved. So thank you very much all for that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, council reports. Virginia.
Okay, Rec Commission, just wanted to remind everybody to register for summer programs. We've got arts, sports, science, robotics, video production, dance, STEM, STEAM, chess, 3D printing, fencing, and martial arts camps this summer. So please sign your kids up. There's lots of good stuff to do. Let's see, Parking Authority Food Truck, September 15th. Put it on your calendar. A lot of good community events coming up. That's all I have.
Thank you. YZ?
I attended an Environmental Commission last Thursday. They were focusing on getting our township recertified for the silver level. The total score is 300 points. We are more than halfway. I think we're short of 130 points, but we have something more than 200 points in the works. So I think we should be well above 300 points by the time that we get to that line. So I'm pleased to report back that. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
No new report, but I just want to thank Planning Board Chairman Gene O'Brien for 2 days of attending the compliance hearing for affordable housing.
Aisha?
Nothing to report.
The Affordable Housing Committee did meet and did go over the suggestions for making affordable housing more affordable. We reviewed what council heard in closed session about giving everybody who moves into affordable housing moving in grant, and we will be sending recommendations to council about how much that grant should be. So it was a very interesting discussion. Thank you. Administration updates.
I have nothing.
I'm ready to go home.
I move to adjourn.
Always in order.